All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. Glad you're here for our presentation. We're going to be looking at doing a SharePoint customer support system. And let's go ahead and jump in. My name is Will Cooper. I am a SharePoint solutions developer, and I do everything and anything related to SharePoint and also Microsoft 365. And I've been using SharePoint and related tools for more than 10 years. I also have a YouTube channel called SharePoint Smart, and hopefully you'll check that out. I post lots of training videos and information about SharePoint on my YouTube channel. And then I also have a website called SharePoint Dashboards, which I'll talk about after our main presentation. This is a tool that you can use in SharePoint to add really nice looking visual indicators and charting and things like that. About InfoWise, we're an organization that wants to make things easy for you. So we try to do everything we can to make our interface easy to work with. And we're about improving our solutions and our tools all the time. These tools allow you to build out solutions in SharePoint without having to do any programming. There's no code at all anytime you need to put something together. That means you don't have to be a SharePoint developer. You can just be a regular SharePoint user and build out all kinds of different forms and solutions and have fun doing it. I am recording the presentation, and this will be available on YouTube later today, so you can check that out and share that with your colleagues. And the other thing I want to let you know is what I show you today, you can download and install on your own SharePoint site for free. The solution template is free. Of course, you do need the InfoWise tools to take advantage of that, but you can download that. Should be available about an hour after I finish my main presentation. All right, SharePoint Online and on-premise SharePoint both will support InfoWise Ultimate Forms. So no matter what flavor of SharePoint you're using, you can take advantage of these tools. I do want to say during our presentation, if you have any questions or comments, just use the Q&A section in the Teams meeting webinar. That's how you can post, and I'll try to get to those later. So just hang on if I can't answer right away. This is how I think about SharePoint. Out of the box, it can be a little bit hard to know what to do, and it's easy to get lost. And that's really where Ultimate Forms comes in. We add all kinds of different tools and capabilities that let you build out full solutions and do it in a fast, easy, and intuitive manner. So this really changes the whole situation for your organization having these tools. We're going to look at a specific feature that's part of Ultimate Forms that does not exist in SharePoint out of the box, and that is the capability to do public-facing forms. And that just means a form that you would have on your external website for your organization. Now, in the past, typically those would be coded up or programmed, and it's done entirely separate from SharePoint, but I'm going to show you today how you can do that using a SharePoint form and do it very easily. Okay, so this is just a screenshot example. It's showing you I've got a SharePoint form that I've built off of a SharePoint list, and you can see that in the lower image it's actually embedded and showing in an external site. So that's what I'm going to show you how you can do today. And then what I want to get into next is kind of some key things we're shooting for in terms of doing this customer support form on a public site and then be able to manage it in SharePoint. We need to be able to create forms easily. That kind of goes without saying. We want our customers to be able to use it easily, so it should be an attractive interface that's simple for our customers to understand. Another thing that typically might be too difficult or complex for us, we can do with these tools, and that's accommodate for other languages. I'm going to show you a form that can handle both English and Spanish speaking users, both internal and external, automatically. We want to naturally include automated email notifications that are triggered from the system. And for language translation, this is actually going to use a new AI capability in our product, which will handle the translations for us on the fly. We want to be able to route our support requests and assign those to different team members in our organization. And then we need a dashboard to track all this. So we need to have a nice looking dashboard with KPI indicators, visuals that help us easily understand what's coming up, what's overdue, what's a high priority, things of that nature. We need the ability to be able to get this out to the public site very easily. If this is a hassle and headache, we're probably not going to be doing a lot of this, but if it's really easy, then we can do it in all kinds of different scenarios. And I'm going to show you that it is indeed very simple to set this up. We need to be able to track our responses and also know when things are overdue. And then, of course, we want to be able to redirect our user to a thank you page when they submit the form. So those are kind of some key goals for us. So we're going to go ahead and jump into it. And we'll go right to SharePoint. And we're going to look at our solution first from a user perspective. And then later in the presentation, I'm going to talk to you about how this is built and how you can take advantage of it. So this is my dashboard inside of SharePoint. You can see that I've got lots of indicators to indicate when we've got high priority tickets. We've got a nice picture of our team members. It helps us see who's handling which tickets. And then we can tell how much time has passed since this support request was made. We've got a due date. So all kinds of tracking information that's really useful for our customer support team and for our customer support manager to know the status on these requests, because of course we want to provide good customer service. Let's look at the form itself. That's a good place to focus on at the beginning. So I've built this form entirely in SharePoint using the Ultimate Forms tools. And just like any SharePoint list, if I click new, I can go ahead and create a new record. But of course, this form looks totally different than anything you could normally build in SharePoint. I've got a nice multi-column layout, and it's a dynamic form. That means it can change according to different things I answer. And in fact, if I pick Spanish and go there, it can actually translate. And I'm going to show you how that works in a second. What's really interesting and different than what SharePoint can do on its own is we have the ability to embed that in a public site. And in fact, that's exactly what I've done. As an example, this is actually my public site, and I just posted this out on a page on my public site. As you can tell, it's exactly the same form, but it's now showing publicly on my external website. So my customers can access this. Obviously, I don't want them to have to log into anything, which is normally always required to access SharePoint. So from their perspective, they don't know that this has anything to do with my SharePoint environment. It's just a support form that they can go to and submit a request. So let's go ahead and do a request real quick. One thing I want to demonstrate to you is, depending on your organization, you may need to facilitate users who have different languages. We know, as an example, in US that the amount of Spanish-speaking people is increasing, and it's very prominent. And so ideally, we want to accommodate for as many people as possible. So notice when I pick language in the first field, a little message popped up, and it's asking, it says, click here if you would prefer to do this in Spanish. Now, if I click this, what you're going to see is the same form load. So it looks the same, except all of the labels and information in the form have now been switched, and I'm now looking at this form in Spanish. And this is all done from one form. So in the past, I might have had to make a separate page with different labels and all that, and basically I'd have to do double the work. And I'm going to show you later how you can actually provide the translations in your form. But all of these labels are now translated into Spanish, so naturally a Spanish-speaking person is going to be much more comfortable to complete this information and provide a request to me. What's better is, on the customer support side, when I receive the request, I can automatically translate that. Maybe some of my customer support team members don't have very good Spanish, but we want them to be able to help those Spanish-speaking customers. They can do that automatically. I'm going to show you that feature as well. All right, so let's go ahead and put in a request real quick. And let me just switch it back. All right, so I'm just putting in some fictional information. All right, harry.miller@bigdonuts.com. Okay, and then this is input masking in this field, which is cool. So you can do some validation and make sure you get your information in a consistent way. We want to know their contact preference. Maybe they want a phone call or an email to go back to them. We want to do some tracking to find out where our customers are coming from. So we've got a how did you hear about us? And then we want to ask them, okay, what kind of support do we need to provide to you? They can, if they want to, say it's high priority. Maybe this is a current one of my customers and this is really critical and they really want somebody to reach out right away. We have the ability to make that stand out. So then I just say, please call me to help repair my computer right away. All right, I'm just putting in some quick dummy information. Another cool thing is I can get pictures from them. So if those of you guys who work in customer support know that it's really critical to get screenshots when we can. Even on this public forum, you can drag and drop pictures. I'm not going to do that in my example, but it's very simple to use. Okay, so that redirected me to my thank you page. That was one of our requirements. So my customer knows that their request is submitted successfully and they can go on about their day, which is good. And now when I go back over into SharePoint, we'll find that we're going to have a new request that appears. There it is. Okay, so we don't have any due date. Notice the created shows 19 seconds ago. The request was completed. I've got a new status and I know the request type. I know this is an English speaking customer and all that kind of thing. So now I can go in here. I'm on the support team watching my dashboard and I can assign this to me. And then you can set up rules if you want to for due date. We'll say that we need to get this done by the 19th. And I'm going to mark this in progress. And then I can also do things to give a response to my customers. So say, okay, I will be calling you in 30 minutes. Thanks for your patience. Okay, so what we're doing here is tracking this. We want to make sure that anybody on the support team can see what's been communicated to the customer at any time. So that's going to help with that. Notice the support response section, of course, is not visible when the request is initially completed. So this is an aspect of what you would call dynamic forms. You can show and hide form sections depending on the user role and depending on whether it's when the request was initially submitted or if you're updating the request. So I'm going to click send email to customer and it's going to log that for me, which is nice. So I can see a whole history there. Notice that it's now assigned to me. The status was updated. I've got this red circle that helps us know the high priority ones. Naturally, we want our support team to jump on those and be aware of that. And we're good on the due date. So that's green. It changes colors if we go past. And what we've got is a log. So whenever I send emails out to my customer, I'm going to have a log of that. So as the support manager, I can make sure we're doing a really good job on our support team. Somebody did reach out to them. We've got a log of that. I don't have to just take it on faith that my support rep did what they were supposed to do. Okay, so that's an example of what it's like. As you can tell, it's a pretty simple process for when a request comes in. Let's take a look at one of those Spanish ones so that I can talk to you more about some of the nice features with that. Okay, so this came in and we've got somebody who's Spanish speaking and as I say, maybe I'm a support team member and I don't know that language very well. It could be any language. This is just what we're showing for example. I've got these nice handy buttons where I can click translate and that's using our AI feature to automatically do the translation for us. So even if I don't speak Spanish, I can still handle those tickets. We don't have to just have this bottleneck where only the Spanish speaking support team members can handle it. So I can interpret back what this person was trying to tell me. And then not only that, I can type my response back to them in the email, and it will translate that for me as well. Thanks for contacting us. We have many new computer models available. I will be sending PDFs to you shortly. Please let me know if you need help. Okay, so my Spanish speaking person may have trouble understanding it because that's not their native language if I send it this way, but now I've got this great feature and I can just hit this little drop down and I can translate back. So I can say, go ahead and translate that. I just click this little button, and this is what we call our rewrite feature. So now everything I just said in English is in Spanish, and I can just click send email. And that'll be recorded. So now I have a very customer-friendly system that's sending emails out to my customer. Now I'm accommodating for those situations, and I don't need to worry about the whatever the languages are that my customer support teams remember. So just a really interesting extra dynamic feature in terms of capabilities that's available with our tools. Now let's go into the design. I'm going to show you a little bit about how some of this works and talk to you about how this is able to connect with your public site. So if I go into our tool set, I can go into Form Designer, and this is where everything was built. As I mentioned earlier in the presentation, you will have the ability to download this template later today. So you can play around with it, put it on your own SharePoint site to investigate and see how all of this works, and you can use this system for your own organization as well. So this is the external form feature. I've already built my form and set up all these rules and functionality in here. And I can just click on external form, and it's a simple toggle button. I can say allow access for anonymous external users. Of course, most of my SharePoint forms I'm doing processes inside my organization, but of course this one's an exception. Now what's great about this is it's just the new form. It's what I might call an intake form. It's just a way for customers to contact us, but they're not going to be accessing SharePoint in any other way. It's just a way for them to send those requests. So once I have this in there, I can get a code snippet. So the way this works is you authorize it for a site. So in my case, I authorized it for my SharePoint dashboard site. And then in my example, I didn't show it, but it's very easy to do. What you want to do is use a free service from Google, which is known as reCAPTCHA, which is a way to stop bot submissions on your forms. But you don't have to. And then also I've got a redirect URL, which I can configure to tell where the page is going to go to after you submit the form. The only thing I have to do on that page is embed this very short code snippet. As you can tell, there's really just a few lines of code here, and this embeds on any external web page, and it will trigger our form to load dynamically for you, which is automatic. It's really just that simple. As long as you've added your URL, which indicates that this specific site is authorized to show this public form, that's really all that you needed. So all I had to do is just drop that little snippet into the public page. So even if you're not the website person, all you need to do is reach out to whoever manages your public website. So this will work great on your WordPress sites or whatever web building platform you use. You can just contact your web person and say, hey, you web person, I just need you to set up a new page for me, and just drop this in the middle. They'll know what to do. And then after you've built that, the thing that's really great is you don't have to reach out to them again in the future if you have changes to your form. So if you want to change the design of this form, you want to add some fields or remove something or change how it works, you can do that anytime you want to. These are perfectly in sync. Whatever I see in SharePoint is exactly what's going to come up on my external site. So I can make those adjustments anytime that I need to. So it's very straightforward to work with. And then naturally, just like with any SharePoint list, you can do your filtered views. So I might want to filter out tickets that have been complete. I may want to have one that's grouped according to who it's assigned. So Maybe if I just want to see my own tickets, I can do that. And that just uses regular SharePoint concepts. And of course, then you can link back to that from your dashboard. So it just opens up some capabilities. So for many organizations, you've got a ticketing system to maybe do support for inside your organization. And that's oftentimes done with SharePoint. And what I'm demonstrating to you is this is a system that can work equally well and in some aspects better on your external site for that. So if you have a system right now, which is just very simple, which is typically something where a customer fills out a form and then it just triggers an email, that's really all there is to it. This is an opportunity for you guys to really, raise your game and do something that's much more dynamic and allows you to really do a much better job with your customer service. I will show an example of an actual customer website of somebody that I work with, and they have a system set up. It'll just give you an idea of, another one, that's not fake. So if I go to Lewis Systems and click Contact Us, this is an example of that. This form was built in SharePoint. So in the case of my customer, they have a SharePoint list for support requests. They have automated email triggering to alert their team members so they can do a good job with customer service. The point I'm trying to exhibit here is that you can make this form match the branding of your public website. You can adjust all the colors, match the look and feel, and it looks exactly as a part of your public website as it should. So it's very easy to set that up. Now, in terms of using this, you're not limited just to this form. You could use this for all kinds of public forms. Another good example, which a lot of people I work with like to use, is for an applicant tracking system. You could use this as a job application form to allow people to provide their job application information, even upload a resume, and you could advertise your open job positions through your public website. So there's a lot of possibilities here that go beyond just doing customer support management. All right, so let me go and look and see if you guys have some questions. So if you do have some questions or comments about this would be a great time to post them in here, and I'll try to cover anything that people put in already. There's a question if the form can be accessible with user ID and password. That would be for your SharePoint team members. We're really trying to go the other direction. We want something that allows anyone to submit a support request. So that would be for an internal support system. Good question. All right, let's see what other questions we got. Question about role-based access security. Yes, you can do permissions on fields, but again, that would be more for an internal support system, whereas what we're really looking at today is a support system to handle our external customers. So there's going to be no login or authentication with that, not for our external customers. Inside of SharePoint, we can certainly lock things down and control things that way. What other questions do you guys have about how you could set up a public-facing form from the SharePoint list? So as you guys are pondering on questions, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how you can try this out and download the template and all that. How does licensing work in that time? Okay, well, let me get into that a little bit. So this is a app that you can download from our site. So when you go to the InfoWiseSolutions.com site, you can just click on Try Now for free. And we allow a trial for 30 days, which is our full software. It's not limited in any way. So if you want to try out the solution that I'm talking about, you can go ahead and do our trial. If you don't have our software, just click on Install Now on the right. It'll walk you through some steps. You can install that in your environment. You do want to make sure, whoops, I left right out of the page. You do want to make sure that you get help from your SharePoint administrator. So if you're not in that role, make sure you reach out to them to help with the installation. The pricing is based on the number of users. If you go to our pricing page, it explains that. As with many kinds of software, the cost per user is lower if you have more users, and that type of thing. So it's a subscription-based software, and it doesn't matter how many forms you do or how many different sites you do it in. It's just based on the number of users in your SharePoint tenant. Now, as it relates to our presentation today, it doesn't matter how many people on your customer side access your form. That is unlimited. So you could have hundreds of requests coming from your customers a day. It has no effect on the pricing. This is just the number of SharePoint users that use this system. So that's the most important thing you could do in terms of trying the solution. Once you install that software, you can go to our page where we allow for downloading templates. So when you go to our main settings page after you install it, what you'll do is click on Solution Catalog and then click on InfoWise Webinars. You can see the ones from previous months on there. We have hundreds of examples. You'll see the one later today as the very first option in the first box under InfoWise Webinars. So that's how you can download the solution that I showed for free, and you can try that out in your own test environment in SharePoint. There's lots and lots of things you can do with our software. You can do the email alerts through here. In my case, I have an automated email alert to send when a new request comes in, and also when when I need to send a request to the customer. So I can use this rich text editor to tailor my response. This is coming from my email response in there. So it's just very simple to work with. I don't have to build email rules through Power Automate. Very easy to work with. We have lots of resources on our site to help you out. You can go to our tutorial section, and we have a free Kickstart training. This will help you walk through building your first form the very first time you're doing it. You can follow the instructions on our site or watch a video to help you out. That's a great place to begin after you install the software. And if you want to go in for more advanced training, we do offer instructor-led training as well. So lots of opportunities on there. If you're curious about examples of other kinds of solutions that you can do with our tools, you can go to our webinar section, and there are hundreds of examples on that page as well. So there's a lot of possibilities in terms of what you can do with these tools. All right, let me check back to your questions. Okay, yeah, there's a comment about external user. Yeah, users don't count. Anybody accessing the public site, that doesn't matter. Anybody can submit a request form there at any time that you want to. All right, you can keep the questions going. I'm going to pivot, and I'm going to go on to a second part of my presentation, and I'm going to talk a little bit about SharePoint dashboards. This is a separate additional tool, additional to Ultimate Forms, that you can add to do things like the dashboards. And in fact, many of the things in the dashboard in my example were from the SharePoint dashboard site. So these indicators and the edit button and highlighting, all those kind of things come from templates on this site. This is something you can also try out for free. If you go in here, you can get access to 21 free templates. Very simple to sign up. You just fill out a form with your name and email address. That's all you need. And if you do that, it will give you access to the 21 templates shown here. You don't have to do any coding, just like Ultimate Forms. It's just copy and paste. You just access whichever template you want, and you click a few buttons to add that to your site. So if I, for example, wanted to do a Gantt chart in SharePoint, I would go to this Gantt chart template, and then I can do configuration of colors and things like that. I can just pick from simple drop-down pickers. I can look at different theme options to get ideas of options, or I can manually adjust those however I want. And then once that's set how you want, you can just copy and paste that over into your SharePoint site, and then you can make things look nice. You can have, as I say, you can have visual indicators. In the case of columns, you just go to the column settings, format the column, and you can just paste in the template on that screen, and that's all there is to it. Unlike other kinds of software, you just need a license for the person who applies templates in this case. This is also a monthly subscription. You can sign up and use it for as much as you want, but you don't have to maintain a subscription in order for the templates to keep working. So There's lots of possibilities in terms of what you can do. If you want to see a demonstration of how any of these templates work, you can watch the video. So we have a video tutorial for every single one of these templates. You can just click on video tutorial. That'll pop open a video that shows you exactly how to make any one of those templates work. So very user friendly, lots of information to help you learn when you're just getting started. All right, let me see if you guys have more questions for me. There's a question about, will the external requesters be able to see status changes? No, they're not going to access SharePoint. They're just going to use it to make their initial request. Their updates are going to come by way of email. So that will be automatically triggered. For example, when you do a status change on a request, or when you click the send email button to them, when you want to send them a message, that's the way that they're going to be notified. Your external users, again, they don't log into anything, so they can't access to SharePoint. They're going to be notified by way of email. That was a good question. Okay, that concludes our main presentation. I'm going to stop our recording, but I will keep the meeting going in case people have further questions.